Okay, so we have been doing little steps all along with science fair, and now we are on background 1. There's 2 different backgrounds you're going to do. This is the first one, and it's very simple. You just have to go in and answer the question. So let's take a look at the directions. You must write in your own words, no copying someone else's words or using sentences from the internet. Plagiarism will not be tolerated. You are not a complete expert on the topic. You are studying for the science fair project. Because of this, you have had to do some research. Again, you are the teacher and the judges and I are the students. You must teach us. You can't assume anything. We don't know what you're talking about. So there are 5 questions for this assignment, and as you can see, it's worth 50 points. All you have to do is answer these questions and answer them well. Please use your own words. The first one says, what do I need to know about your topic? A great starting point for this is to go back to the research question. If you go back and take a look, I already asked you, did you already know something or many things about your project? And if you did, that would be your part of where you would tell me the following. So to answer the question, what do I need to know about your topic? You're going to tell me again what your goal for the experiment is. What are you trying to test? Or maybe you can add a little bit back in from the observation. Why did you choose this project? In the end, what do I need to know? If it's about BMX bikes, I may not know what that is. So then you would need to tell me, for those who are not aware, BMX stands for blah, blah, blah. Okay? You would use this type of whatever it is, because I don't know what it is, when racing, because I know this because the research I collected, that's a misspelling, the research I collected from this source said, and I quote. Okay? That's number 1. Super, super, super simple. Number 2, a student once told me he wanted to test BMXs. I had no clue what that was. This is the time you explain to me what things mean. Again, don't assume I know. You have to tell me what the key words are. Please teach me and list them. So if my plant involves experiments, there's going to be cellulose. Well, what is cellulose? Cellulose is the main substance that makes up the cell walls and fibers of the plants. But something else I might need to know. Well, if I'm testing pH, I need to know what pH is. Number 2 and number 3 are similar in that you're teaching me keywords. Now, you don't necessarily have to give me a definition. For example, for number 2, BMX, you could have just written what BMX stands for. Number 3 is where if you're going to give definitions, like I just showed you on number 2, like what's the definition of cellulose? What is pH? How do you use pH, etc.? Those might be things that I need to know. Number 4. What are some words you had to learn during your research so you could design your experiment or improve it in some way? So again, you might use the example cellulose. Okay? Cellulose was something you had to learn. And then you're going to add why you had to learn it. I had to learn it because in my research, it kept talking about cell walls, etc., whatever it is that it tells you. Okay, explain why you had to learn that word. Okay, and you might have more than one thing there, and that's okay. You can have more than one thing. And lastly, for this assignment, the big one. Okay, and a lot of you have already done this. What did you learn from your research that helped you form or fix your hypothesis? So some of you are hypothesis gurus. You already knew this is how I do a hypothesis. I understand that all my teachers, including Mrs. Lewis, have told me now since the 5th grade, I have to do my research first before forming a true hypothesis, because it's not a what? A guess. We do not guess in science. Everything is factually based. So therefore, those of you who didn't, or maybe as you did more research, you realize I need to unsubmit my Google document titled Hypothesis. I need to go in and fix my hypothesis, redo it, and then resubmit it. So if you need to do that, or if you've already done that, I want you to write here, what did you learn from your research that helped you form or fix your hypothesis? Once you're done with this, you'll turn it in. The due date is the 20th of February. Now, on to background 2. Background 1 is due on the 17th. Background 2 is due on the 20th. And then this is for 2020. They come together, and you might ask, why am I doing all of these in numbers? Well, that's because eventually you're going to take this and you're going to write it in a paragraph form. Okay, so background, you have an entire section that you have to write for your background report. Your report consists of 2 paragraphs. The first one comes from background 1, and the second paragraph, you will use these questions to form your second paragraph. It'll go something like this. The purpose for my experiment was, and then you'll answer that. Okay? I was trying to discover, or some of you might put prove, etc. Next sentence in your paragraph, the information I had to research, let me fix that. I had to learn more about blah, 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 blah in order to design a quality experiment. Now, for this one, number 3, you might only have one thing, or you might have several things. I've seen well over a dozen. It just kind of depends. Your next sentence will say this. Before beginning this experiment, I knew, and you're going to put in what your prior knowledge of the topic was. Next sentence. You're going to say, for example, I understood all plant cells have a cell wall, but I did not realize one of the substances that helped form the cell wall was cellulose. Okay? And then you list all of those things that you knew prior. Now, if you have more than one thing that you knew prior, like you knew a lot about your topic, then you may not want to do this part here. I did not realize the substance, etc., etc. You can just keep it positive. I understand that plant cells have a cell wall. I understand that all plants needed light. Let them know what you know. You don't have to do that last part of sentence. And then my last sentence in the paragraph is going to be in 3 sentences or less. You're going to tell me what you will be doing. For my experiment, I will be blah, 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 blah. Or you can say, for my science fair project, blah, 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 blah. Either or. Now, to answer this common question, no, you are not going to write a paragraph to me today. That is not what I'm asking you to do. I'm just telling you, you need to answer these questions and answer them well, because what's going to happen is we're going to come up and we're going to delete each of these questions. We're going to delete all the questions. Delete. We're going to delete. We're going to delete. Okay, we're going to do this all the way up. And then what's left is everything that you typed out, your answers. Okay, so make sure you don't say plants. If I'm looking at that, I don't know what plants mean. Well, what do you mean plants? You need to write real sentences, right? So a real sentence would be, the purpose of my experiment is to discover what environment do plants grow best in. Okay? And so then what I have left, once I've taken out all of Mrs. Lewis's questions and I've taken away all of these numbers and they're no longer there, and there's a way to do all that. Then I have all of these sentences, and then at that point all I have to do is clean it up and make it look really, really nice. So again, anytime I'm asking you questions, don't give me 1 or 2 words. Give me the leading in. The purpose of my experiment was I was trying to find out. I had to research this in order to learn more about how to design my experiment. Prior to research, I knew about the following things. Okay? So make sure you do your lead-in sentence before you start answering that question. And then writing the paragraph, you guys, is super, super simple. Why? Because you've already done it. You just answered questions. So answer the questions well, and this will be super easy.